The old jacket had been more than clothing. It was a symbol of every challenge she'd faced, every sneer she'd endured, every night spent proving herself in a world that underestimated her. But that evening, under the dull yellow glow of the streetlights, a group of local troublemakers cornered her in the alley behind the diner. Laughter echoed cruelly off the brick walls. Before she could react, they doused her jacket with gasoline and tossed a match. The flames curled and hungrily consumed the fabric. She stood frozen for a heartbeat, the acrid smoke stinging her eyes, her chest tightening with humiliation. She had lost something deeply personal, something that represented the person she was trying to become. And yet, in the depths of her fury, she felt a strange clarity. She would not run. She would not cry. She would return stronger, sharper, and untouchable. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're re-watching from. I love knowing who's listening. Weeks passed. Every night she trained harder. Her small apartment became a sanctuary of discipline, resistance bands, weights, tactical drills, and hours of strategy videos. She thought about that burning jacket every day, letting the image of the flames fuel her determination. But this wasn't about revenge in the petty sense. It was about proving to herself that she could rise above the fear, above the ridicule, and above the limitations others tried to impose. She had already applied to a classified military program months ago, one that promised nothing but extreme's grueling training, missions that tested mind and body, and risks most would never consider. The rejection letters had stung, but tonight she felt ready. She knew she had to transform her anger into skill, her fear into precision, her humiliation into purpose, and so she did. The day finally came. She stepped out of the shadows of her apartment complex in sleek black tactical gear, the fabric tight and commanding. The air smelled of rain-soaked asphalt, carrying the faint metallic temps of the city at night. Every muscle felt alive. Her hands rested on the grips of her weapons, and her eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the alleyways she once feared. She was no longer the girl with the old jacket. She was something else, someone trained to move silently, to strike decisively, to command attention without a word. The gang that had mocked her gathered again, oblivious to the figure now watching them from the darkness. They laughed at a passing joke, unaware that their world was about to shift. She stepped forward, her boots silent against the wet pavement, her movements precise. They didn't notice the shadow detach itself from the alley wall until it was too late. Time seemed to slow. She moved like a tide, calculated, unstoppable, synchronized with an internal rhythm only she could hear. Her presence alone silenced the laughter. The gang froze, unsure if this was the same girl they had tormented or something far more dangerous. One of them stepped forward, mocking once more. "Is that all you got?" he sneered. Her voice, calm and unwavering, cut through the tension. "No, you never saw me coming." It was not just the words, but the authority in them. The undeniable power emanating from someone who had transformed every ounce of fear and humiliation into controlled strength. Within seconds, she had neutralized the threat, a calculated sequence of movements so precise it was almost artistic. The gang was disarmed, not by brute force alone, but by her unwavering presence, her mastery of the situation, and the shock of facing someone who had transcended their expectations entirely. The silence that followed was almost sacred. People in the surrounding buildings peeked through windows, whispering, murmuring, shocked by the spectacle of a young woman dismantling a scene of intimidation with quiet mastery. The gang, shaken and defeated, scattered, leaving behind their arrogance and their shame. She stood there for a moment, breathing in the damp night air, feeling the cool wind brush against her face. The alley was quiet again, but she could feel the weight of the transformation settle in her bones. The flames that had once consumed her jacket had ignited something far greater, a force she had honed into precision, discipline, and unshakable confidence. It was not vengeance. It was self-respect. It was mastery. It was the silent declaration that she would no longer be underestimated. She walked away, her boots clicking softly against the pavement. She glanced once at the spot where the old jacket had burned. Smoke had long since dissipated, leaving only charred remnants on the asphalt. And in that quiet moment, she realized something profound. The fire had not destroyed her. It had forged her. 'Cause courage isn't built in comfort, it's forged in fire. The city continued its rhythm around her, unaware of the quiet storm that had passed through its alleys. Storm that had left one person unshakable, confident, and resolute. She carried that fire with her, not as a burden, but as a beacon of who she had become. If this story inspired you, share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe to Whispered Words for more unforgettable tales of courage, transformation, and the heroes who rise when the world doubts them. Remember, the flames that try to destroy you may just ignite the force within.